I mentioned to you you might like this story because there's lots of birds in it. The pigeons are the ones that out the stepdaughters as having uh uh deformed themselves in order to fit the uh
Mm.
the slippers. And there's probably something about that, like they're not they're not fitting the slippers, they're not being right for that role. They're being imposters. And then during the third pass, when he's with Cinderella, they're doves, and the doves alight on her shoulders, one on each shoulder. And
Mm.
later on, uh, during the wedding, the stepsisters are on either of her sides, and the two birds, yeah, peck out their one eye
Mm.
each, and then later there's a reversal, as you mentioned, they peck out the other eyes. There's maybe something about balance there,
Yeah,
about balance and imbalance.
yeah. And I thought about how like pigeons and doves are kind of like common or kind of humble kind of birds
Mm,
that people tend to overlook or that
mm.
just aren't remarkable, I guess.
Well,
Um,
aren't doves like a special symbol of,
well, they are.
love?
Maybe I was thinking more pigeons. Yeah.
Yeah, pigeons definitely, I would think. Although pigeons and doves are the same bird, aren't they? It's just they
Hmm.
look different,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we
And
refer to them differently.
yeah.
And they're different symbolically. Yeah, pigeons are the common way of referring to them, and doves are the more elegant. Yeah, what else did you think about this story?
Mm. Well, yeah, I think it was just talking about like maybe what virtues are good for like in a woman, what makes a good woman.
Yeah, yeah,
Kind of
definitely.
feminine virtues.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned her piety, which her mother had entreated her to never lose sight of. In the beginning of the story, yeah, she says, "Be good and pious, and then God will always protect you. Heaven will be near you." And then,
Mm.
yeah, she always does that. She ritualistically goes to her mother's grave 3 times a day and grieves for her. There's no mention of the father grieving for his lost
Mm.
wife. He and as you mentioned, he sort of the next spring or the next turning of the season, he kind of is remarried and essentially has a new family because she has
Mm.
he has the two daughters, which he then kind of takes care of better than Cinderella.
Mm.
And by the end of the story, he refers to Cinderella talking to the prince as like the kitchen wench. So it's like,
Mm.
uh, is she not your daughter anymore?
Hmm.
It's like, but yeah, he never seems to protect her or anything.
Hmm. Yeah, there's that, and yeah, and then there's the instances where she's not focused on being ostentatious or like
Yes,
concerned with her
exactly.
appearance.
Exactly right.
Because she's not requesting the fancy dresses and the
That's right.
pearls, for example, at the beginning.
That's
And
right.
like you
Yeah.
said, she kind of remains more hidden throughout the story, which, traditionally, maybe that's kind of what would kind of make a good wife uh, and mother.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think in terms of virtues, yeah, those are more
yeah.
hidden than the more ostentatious things by
Hmm.
definition.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she is the most beautiful to physically look at once she kind of gets the gifts bestowed upon her by heaven, so to speak. But yeah,
Mm.
she never asked for it and she wasn't doing that. So that fits in with kind of how we tend to think of as virtue as something that is not directly given. It's not like you do a certain amount of work and then you get paid with virtue. It's more
Mm.
indirect. It has something to do with true intent. It
Mm.
has something to do with the truth of character, and that's has to do with
Hmm.
this sort of inner thing that may even be hidden
Hmm.
from many people themselves.
Yeah. 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 And I feel like with the dresses getting, as you mentioned, progressively more and more beautiful, it's kind of symbolic of that being visible on the outside. Uh,
Yeah. Do you think maybe that's like virtue becomes the inner becomes more and more visible to the outside eventually? And then
Mm,
the outer maybe becomes more and more visible too, where the girl's
mm,
getting deformed as the stepsisters getting deformed as the story takes place, getting a toe cut off, getting part of a heel cut off, and then
mm,
getting the eyes pecked out.
mm.
Yeah, they get more and more
Yeah,
deformed.
yeah, because they're also initially described as beautiful too, but
Yeah, that's right.
it just catches up with them,
That's
that
right.
lack of virtue.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, they're beautiful. They're fair of face. It later says they have pretty feet.
Mm,
It's just they're not quite the right fit, which makes all the difference.